We need to bring back the apology segment, except it's not a joke anymore. It just means Jim just apologizing.
Yeah.
Just actually ending the show every time with apologies from the last show. That feels right.
You ready to do this?
Oh, we probably should.
I'm ready for bed.
Pod Therapy After Dark.
From fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada, this is Pod Therapy. Real people, real problems, and real therapists. You can submit your questions anonymously at podtherapy.net or email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com. It's Pod Therapy After Dark.
After Dark.
I'm mentioning this in an effort to promote our least successful merchandise line on the store. I realize it doesn't mean anything to anyone else, but it is Pod Therapy After Dark.
It does exist.
And now, broadcasting from the churn, that guy is Dr. Jim Jobin. I'm Nick Tangeman. It's time for some Pod Therapy.
That's the only other merch I have. I have My Other Therapist is a Podcast mug. And then I have another mug that says Pod Therapy After Dark on one side, and then I think it has our tree on the other one.
Which was really dumb, if you think about it.
I figured it was a test piece, because you gave it to me. So
I did.
I thought it was a test piece, and you're just trying to smash as many logos on there as you could to see how they looked.
No. I needed something on the other side of the cup.
That's what it was.
But creating that line was kind of dumb.
The Pod Therapy After Dark line?
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
Because it only means something to the people in this room right now.
Yeah. Everybody else is listening to it Thursday morning or Wednesday morning.
Yeah, they're going to the same time they always get it.
Yeah.
It's just ours.
And it's no different content.
Nick, just think about how much merchandise Jim and I purchase.
That's right.
Pays for itself.
For itself.
Does it, though?
I don't think that's how economics works. Step one, just print things.
Yeah.
Just think about how many times I've looked at the merch website.
That's right. Yeah, Jacob alone is financing us.
Both of you have merch that neither of us
have bought for. Yeah.
I actually buy the shit.
We're in the red pretty deep.
In fairness, I haven't seen it either.
Yeah, that's true. But speaking of merchandise, it's not too late. You've got a few days left.
Oh, yes.
When this airs, to get your mental health T-shirt.
That's
to support NAMI. So all proceeds from the sale of that T-shirt go to NAMI.
Which T-shirt?
It is the mental health awareness T-shirt.
Yep.
Great.
So if you go to the website, there's going to be a banner right at the top. You click on it, and now we have a women's cut.
What's the website?
Oh, PodTherapyBaitShop.com.
Just trying to help you out here, buddy.
Pod Therapy. We're really bad at everything.
It's
Merch,
amazing.
Plugging. It's bad.
It's amazing we even got here tonight.
That we drove in a straight line. Yeah, I'm impressed too.
Every time we get here, it's just, oh my God, we made it. But yeah, there's still...
No one's more surprised than us.
PodTherapyBaitShop.com.
Yes, and get your T-shirt. We have a women's cut now.
Yeah.
So thank you to the feedback from everybody saying, hey, we need a women's cut.
It's always Ulrika. Ulrika will always notify you that you don't make women's cuts because you're a chauvinist.
No.
That's what it was.
And she's right.
Yes, I agree you're a chauvinist.
No, not about that.
Yes, Jacob and I both agree. Seems right. Yeah, seems right.
First thing we've all agreed on.
Yeah, also a shirt soon coming out. As soon as I figure out how to make designs.
But all the T-shirts,
the chauvinist.
they all say unisex.
Yeah.
Right.
But they're really not.
No.
A women's cut is a completely different cut.
What unisex is someone who also deals with merchandise a good bit. Yeah. Unisex is just what men's cut used to be called.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, now
exactly.
But there's no such thing as men's cut anymore.
Yeah.
So now it's unisex and women's cut.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So that's the explanation.
Yeah.
And Nick's no longer a chauvinist.
Correct.
Redemption!
Oh, I didn't say that.
Thy name is fashion. Well, Mental Health Awareness Month is coming to an end as you are hearing this. It's been a huge and productive month.
Yeah.
This is also the first episode that we're recording after our Reddit AMA. In the past episodes, we referenced it, and then, we hadn't done it because we had recorded before the AMA. And our Reddit AMA was extremely successful to reflect on it. It was huge. That happened on May 6th. And we blew last year out of the water. Mm-hmm. Last year, we got 3,100 upvotes. This year, we got 5,000. Mm-hmm. Over 800 comments. And both you and I were answering questions for pretty much 2 days straight.
Yeah.
And one of us started at the end, both ends of the lineup. One of us started on newest comments. One of us started on oldest comments. we never even found each other in the middle. There were so many. It was awesome.
They're all really good. There was a few.
You didn't
of
both
them.
give like opposite answers to certain like.
I was waiting for that
questions.
to happen. Like, don't listen to that guy. Listen to this.
There was one that you answered.
Yeah,
that
like,
it was a question
because
you're like, what's that? And I was like, Jim, you know what that is?
Oh wow, what was it? It was an acronym one.
Yeah, it was.
Usually
OCPD.
Yeah.
Obsessive compulsive personality disorder.
Right.
Because a lot of people think of OCD, but kind of forget about the personality part. Which is a completely separate diagnosis.
I started getting salty when people were just spamming like acronyms, and again, I was 12 hours into this, and I was kind of like, you need to write it. Like,
by
I'm
the
not
end of
going
the
to
night,
Google this.
I'm not kidding. By the end of the night, like it's like 11 o'clock at night now, and I'm sitting here, and I've been doing this all day, and my attitude has completely changed.
Oh yeah.
So there was somebody who wrote in that I swear to God, I was like, Ben, is this you? Because I thought it was our.
Ben,
I thought it was because the way that he wrote it, I was like, I know you.
Yeah.
Like, but I knew it wasn't. But anyway, like I talked to him like it was. And he actually, this person did.
Which is probably
actually,
a healthy way to answer those questions.
Yeah,
anyway.
Yeah.
Well, and he was very like, therapy is bullshit. Why do I have to go to therapy?
Oh, that one.
And
yeah.
that. And I
you answered my question.
I answered it, but I was very direct.
Yeah.
Like I was just talking to a friend. I was like, well, hey, here's the deal. I don't care. Do it or don't do it. It doesn't make a difference to me.
Right.
But it's all about outcomes. If you think it's going to be helpful, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
The person ended up replying to it, and they were like, thanks for keeping it real.
Yeah.
All right, great.
Yeah.
There was another one, too, that was deleted.
Okay.
And I don't know if you deleted it or somebody deleted it.
I don't think I purged any. The moderators might have.
Okay, maybe it was a moderator that did it, but I sincerely was answering the question.
Okay.
Like, it was somebody who wrote in that was like, oh, you're a therapist. Great. Have you ever been in a psych ward? Have you ever been held against your will and all this? And so I was honestly answering.
Well, we had a question like that on the show not long ago.
Yeah. And I mean, it came off very aggressive. The person who wrote this was very, very aggressive with it. But I gave a sincere answer to it.
It wasn't necessarily a sincere question.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
At least not 100%.
Right.
One of my favorite ones. Oh, go ahead.
But then by the time I hit send, then it said,
"Oh,
this comment was deleted."
Yeah, they.
I was like, man, I spent like 20 minutes on that.
Yeah. One of my favorite ones is somebody gets in there and says, like, you therapists on your pile of money. Like, you guys make And Leon Kassab gets in there. He goes, as the official lawyer of Pod Therapy, I'd like you to know I make a lot more money than
yeah.
He goes, or something like, you therapists billing like lawyers. That's what it was.
Yes.
And then Leon got in there and is like, I assure you they do not.
I read that one.
I'll tell you what. They don't even bill like sound guys.
Yeah. The per diem on a sound guy way higher than that on a therapist.
There was another one. I don't know if you saw this one too, but I ended up answering this one. But it was the guy was talking about like, okay, so you're billing $200 an hour, and so that's going to come out to over $400,000.
Oh yeah, I saw your answer on that one.
Yeah, and I was like,
assuming
okay,
40 hours a week.
Yeah,
$200
right.
an hour.
No one's doing.
I'll
40
take that job.
sessions.
That's fantastic.
A, and then B, not many are charging $200 an hour.
Steep,
that is pretty high.
Pretty steep. But we got some really good
even
questions.
People that are just charging, like, I mean, this is something I know, and I don't know anything. But like, people who even charge just charging insurance.
Right.
Like, you're not charging $200 an hour.
No, not usually. But no, I did appreciate the very realness in the questions. I think a lot of people asked very raw, real questions, very much like we get in the show.
Wonderful.
And also, there were some really cool inside baseball questions that were like, hey, I have a grievance with your industry. Let me speak to it. And there were several questions where you and I tried to respond and said, hey, fair. Here we are. We're doing an AMA.
I loved those.
Yeah. And we would give our best answer. And a lot of the time, people would come and go, all right, thank you. Like,
fair.
You weren't defensive about it. All right. Maybe I'll take another look at it. There was lots of good questions like that. But like, some really fun ones too.
The people who go after therapists, it's like any industry.
Right.
You got good therapists, you got bad therapists, you got shitty therapists.
Right.
Like, I'm a sound guy and a comedy podcaster.
Right.
There's good ones of us, bad ones of us, and really shitty ones of us.
Right. And a 7-Eleven Apple connoisseur. So,
as it turns out,
I don't like to brag.
Basically a farmer's market attendee.
You know what? I didn't buy this cape. this cape bought me.
That's right. Yeah, I didn't choose the thug life. It found me. So to all of you who supported us, so much fun. Thank you for that officially. It was a tremendous success, not just for the show, but for mental health conversations.
Yes.
And a lot of people found their way to the show. For all of you that have joined us in the wake of the Reddit AMA, glad to have you with us, and glad that you're here to support mental health and hopefully enjoying the way that, we just try to do it in an authentic and meaningful way and, explicit, as we were talking about in the Patreon.
Fuck yeah.
Thank you, Jacob, for making our show have a tag.
Yep. That's what I'm here for. And
anyway.
I got to look in a little bit on the Instagram.
Oh yeah,
Live.
we went Instagram
Live a little bit, and you guys did,
that was
did
fun.
great on that.
That was really fun. Sapphire joined us, and we took questions from the chat, and we had great discussion. Did an hour of that.
Yeah,
that was a lot of fun.
And I was in there for longer than because I commented on it towards the end.
Okay,
to just say hi to you guys,
lurking for a little bit.
But I was in there, and I had my earbuds in, just listening with it in my pocket, just listening to the audio of it because I was outside working in the yard.
Oh, cool!
And so I got to listen,
and it was super nice.
It was so nice.
Take on some really cool inside questions about what it is to find a therapist and stuff like that. Just a lot of fun. And so May has been an extremely, I think, productive month, to talk about mental health. We got to do extra. We got to engage more people. So again, thank you to everybody who's been supporting us and for all the new folks that have joined us in the show and making this part of your weekly diet of how you're, just doing some mental health stuff, taking that thought seriously at some point, if it's just spending an hour with us. So
I tell you, when my peers ask me what I do in the podcast world, and, I get to talk about Ice Cream Social, and I get to talk about that, and a lot of our listeners also listen to Ice Cream Social, and that's wonderful, and I appreciate that. But the questions that I get are about this show.
Really?
And that's sincere.
Wow.
Because people know what a stupid comedy podcast is.
Okay. Yeah.
People who don't listen to that, I go like, yeah. It's we sit around and we crack jokes and we crack wise and we bust balls and whatever, and they understand what a comedy podcast is.
Right.
I go, and I also do this show Pod Therapy, and I'm on that, and I kind of produce it, and I do a little bit here and there with these guys, and they go, well, what's that?
That's funny. Huh. That's the one that people go, wait.
Because that's the curiosity.
Right, yeah.
That's the thing that's different. And I think people appreciate that. I really do.
Yeah.
And I hope if you're listening to this, I hope you appreciate it because it's a neat, weird thing. And I say weird is a good thing.
Yeah, definitely.
No, it you know what? Thank you for saying that, man. And that means a lot, I think.
I meant that mostly to Nick.
Oh, no, that's fine. Oh, of course. I assumed that. Yeah, I assumed that's where the praise was heading.
Can you shut up and just let me enjoy this?
Yeah, no, I'm just gonna sip on my Diet Coke. That's fine. But no, I think that was one of the things that a lot of people, even in the Reddit AMA, were saying. Like, a lot of people were saying, hey, I just gave this thing a listen. We've gotten a lot of feedback, just direct messages and stuff after the Reddit where people are like, hey, found you through the Reddit. Got to tell you, this is a different take on mental health, and I'm digging this. This is working for me, and great. So awesome to have everybody with us. And remember, you can submit your questions to the show. We always open and close by reminding you how to get your questions in. Everything we read is real humans. Real people write this stuff, and we barely edit it. Sometimes we edit it out for time. A lot of times we don't. So that's it. So if you ever want to send in your stuff, send it in. It's always in the queue, and we get it in there. So. And
by the way, I didn't get introduced at the top of the show, and yeah.
Oh, yeah. So anyway, first question.
Our best running gag. In this
the longest running gag.
Is never introducing. Never introducing our producer.
Yeah, the opening is.
Nope.
That guy's Jim. I'm Nick.
Let's go.
And all of a sudden, this third voice shows up. And... with the lights. I love that the lights flicker. He does have the jingle, right? So, that's it. No explanation.
What else do you need?
We should probably start answering some questions. All right, first one's a good one here. It's from Drew. It's titled, Putting Yourself Out There. Hey guys, like so many people, I'm job hunting right now. Luckily, I'm employed, but my boss is a micromanager, and the company overall isn't great. So I'm looking. I've always suffered from low self-esteem and don't often put myself out there if I don't have to. For example, I've been at the same company for 15 years. How do you deal with the roller coaster of job hunting? I build myself up, get some confidence in my skills, which is really hard for me to do. I apply, and I even interview. Then, with rejection, it's a new low. I'm not good enough. I don't have the skills. I'll never get a job. Then I see an interesting opportunity and it builds myself up again. It seems like a natural cycle, but hitting these lows is taking a toll on me. Is this normal, or am I doing it wrong? Love you guys and the show, Drew.
Awesome.
Hey,
Great
Drew.
question.
Great question. A lot of people relate to that. Oh my goodness.
I can definitely relate to this, or at least at one point in my life could relate to this.
Yeah.
I've kind of learned to get over it a little bit, but it is something to do with low self-esteem and trying to find work, because you're trying to promote yourself as much as you
Right.
can. And if you really, I'm a very modest person in a lot of ways.
That shirt's a little tight, but go on.
Every now and then, Jim just gets one.
I can't help how a shirt fits.
No, you absolutely can, especially when you shop at Baby Gap. Also, for all the listeners, Jacob found the soundboard during the Patreon segment. This is going to be a very different episode.
Show.
It's going to be a very long
show. No, but like I always had the problem of trying to talk myself up, because I always tried to be like, well, yeah, I think I'm okay at this. You know, I'm pretty good.
Well,
I got
plus
some skills.
that's
but
anti-Iowa, right? You're not
it is.
supposed to talk.
No.
Say,
Yeah.
like,
Oh, yeah.
What's nice about
People
it.
always talk about that, though, because, I grew up in the Deep South.
Yeah.
And that was always the same thing. Is like, well, that's not
Understate.
Southern
Right.
to do that.
Understated.
It's not Midwestern to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not like
Right.
I think that's everywhere.
That,
Yeah,
yeah,
I think it is.
I think that's true.
I don't think there's anywhere where it's like, oh yeah, I'm the shit.
I don't know. I mean, Trump Tower, that's a place where you can kind of just come out with it, can't you?
I really meant a region, but sure.
It really varies by zip code and sometimes address.
what really helped
How many
me,
floors do you have?
yeah. What really helped me was trying to focus on accomplishments and not so much personal skills or attributes.
Right.
So when I create my resume, I can talk about, hey, I created this thing.
Right.
I implemented this thing. I got this thing going.
Right.
And then for me,
Definite things. Definite things you can point to.
tangible things that I accomplished. And then by doing that, it makes it easier for me to talk about it, because then I don't feel like I'm bragging. I don't feel like I'm trying to be anything bigger than what I am.
Right.
I'm really just focusing on my accomplishments. And that's what your employer wants anyway.
Yeah.
Your employer wants to know what are some of the things that you bring to the table.
But that's a feeling that a lot of us resonate with. And I've had, obviously during the pandemic, a lot of people are doing the job shuffle thing. A lot of people are trying to get back in the market. I've worked with a lot of patients this year who are finding themselves going through that. And a really common refrain I hear in their voices is what I'm hearing in this letter, where people say, Jim, I look at the job description and I look at all the things that they're looking for in the ideal candidate, and I get really intimidated.
Yeah.
Because I'll be like, okay, there's 30 bullet points here. I have 29 of them, but I don't know if I have that one.
Yeah.
And they'll go, I shouldn't apply.
Yes.
I shouldn't apply. It's going to be embarrassing. And I'm like, I always tell them, like, just get in there, apply. What's the worst they're going to say? No. Right?
I suggest we flip this around.
Yeah.
Okay.
All three of us have been in the position to hire people.
Yes.
This is true.
Let's talk about it from that angle.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So when you're looking for a candidate as well. So yeah, from first the angle of the emotional side, because I think the writer definitely is struggling with that piece. A lot of people, writer, have that idea of like they look at it and they go, man, there's pieces of this that like I do not resonate with, or so I'm not good enough. And I think first you have to remember, job descriptions are written in this broad net fashion.
Yeah.
I really appreciate job descriptions that say, like, must have qualifications.
Yeah.
And that, like, keep that to 2 or 3 bullets. We want some experience in this position already.
If you have to have a certain degree,
get it out.
Throw that out there.
Top of
yeah.
the thing. Top of the thing. And then they'll go through.
If there are basic requirements, please put
preferred
those up there.
requirements, job descriptions. But, writer,
If you have to have a car.
That's right. Yeah. Must have reliable transportation. Like, get that out early. The thing you need to remember is these things are designed. And this is why I think Jacob's onto a really good point here, that as people who have written job descriptions and interviewed, I'll tell you, writer, when I do it or have done it in the past, I do start with a very broad and idealistic view, right? And I guess I don't want to scare away, qualified people, but I'm trying to set a big standard, right? I'm trying to put it up there. But in no way do I, in any of the times that I've ever hired, has every single applicant just been like, only at that, like, perfect matches all the squares level.
Right.
Like, No,
Yeah,
I'm happy
no.
if I get 70% of what I
Yeah.
was writing about. That would be a win.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
If you get 70% and a good attitude,
Yeah. Oh God, that's everything.
we're done.
The job's yours.
Yeah.
Job's yours.
Yeah, if you can demonstrate you're teachable, that's a
Yeah.
huge piece.
And I
'Cause-
look for bow wielding skills. I feel, nunchuck abilities. Have something that you can just break out in the middle of the interview.
I'd like
break
you
out
to be a
some nunchucks.
reptile.
Yeah.
I'd like you to have been trained by a large mutant rat.
Yeah. You just break that out. You named for like Renaissance artists. I'm into it.
I mean, as far as how you feel when you don't get the job,
Yeah.
totally relate to that. And then the thing that I again, kind of going back to Jacob's perspective of looking at it from an employer,
Right.
as an employer, I can tell you that out of all the positions that I've had to fill in my career, there's always like a handful of people that I think every one of these people can be successful.
Right.
And ultimately you just have to pick one.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, if I would really encourage you not to beat yourself up too much over not getting a job, because it's very competitive out there.
Right.
And it doesn't mean that you're underqualified. Really, it could just be one of those things where you were in the top running,
Yes.
and you just didn't get picked. Somebody just went with somebody else.
Right.
You're going to lose. It's just like anything, a lot of things in life. You're going to lose way more often than you're going to win, but you only need to win once.
Right.
Right. So you have a job now. It's not perfect, but you have a job and you're looking for a new one. You're already winning.
Yeah.
You're looking for a job when you already have a job.
Right.
So that's a blessing right there. You keep looking. If you don't get a job, if you apply, you get really excited about something, it doesn't work out. Okay, then it's just on to the next one. But you don't have to internalize it and verbalize it in a way that says something about me.
Right.
Just be mindful of that.
Yes.
How you phrase it. It doesn't say anything about you.
No.
It says about the environment that you're in.
Yeah, that's one mistake that I think a lot of people make with resumes is because it is this very personal reflection. It's your name.
Mm-hmm.
It's a summary of your life history.
It's hard to not take it personally.
It's hard to not take it personally.
Yeah.
And yet
But you have to.
Well,
Yeah.
you have to understand from the HR side, they don't even know your name. They are not sizing up your humanity. A lot of times they are sifting through 100 of these things. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you, writer, you're fishing during a time when it is a heavy job-seeking market. And usually when it's like this, whenever there's a lot more candidates than there are positions, as a person who's hired people before, whenever I've been in that kind of a market, the person I'm hiring for this job literally has that job title right now.
Yeah.
I'm not getting somebody from one rung down the ladder and giving them the chance to step in. I don't have to right now.
You're not looking for somebody in the mail room to take over VP.
Nope.
Because there are 8 VPs
They already
that are
have
applying
it.
for the job.
That's it. And that means a lot of these guys who are really qualified and would have been great candidates get an auto rejection.
Yeah.
And you think, oh man, I'm not even getting looked at. And you think there's something wrong with you. No, it also has to do with the way the market's working, because when it's this competitive, there are people applying for the role who are already at that level or at that level in more successful competitive companies. Mm-hmm. And so you're hiring literally your rivals at that point. And they really do get first pickings. That has nothing to do with you. Mm-hmm. That has nothing to do with you. That's like trying to buy a house whenever there's people walking around trying to buy houses with cash in their pockets.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with you.
Right.
Yeah.
You weren't rejected. It's just, come on. I mean, of course that's what they're going to take.
Yeah.
You applied with $300,000 loan.
Yeah.
The guy who got the house had $310,000 cash.
And he handed it over and season tickets to the Knights, you know? And so that has nothing to do with you, writer. So that would be the first thing I would add is the resume feels like a personal reflection and therefore feels like a personal rejection. But from the HR side of the street, it is really not. And you also have to know, like with these ad companies like Indeed and all these companies like that, resume companies, the rejections are automated a lot of the time. I mean, it is very fast how these systems go. You may not have even crossed the gaze, And so one little tip that I'll also offer you, since you are job seeking, and I think Indeed is a really good place to do this. I've talked about this, I think, a long time ago, years ago in like season 1. But a great trick that I always teach interns and college students when they're looking for their first jobs, tell them, go to Indeed, log in as an employer. You can do that. There's no litmus test.
Yeah.
They would love for any idiot I logged in as an employer. I have a private practice. I have a Gmail account. They didn't care. They just wanted me to give them money so I could post an ad, right? But when you log in on the employer side, one of the cool things that you can do for free is you can type in a job title, and they will show you resumes in their system right now in the locale that you're searching for that match that job title. They will scrub the name and the contact information, but they do that to dangle it in front of the employer saying, hey, you should pay. And we'll give you the name of this guy.
Here's a resume for what you're looking for.
Exactly. But if you're a candidate, they're giving you the secrets.
Yeah.
Now you're looking at all your rivals' resumes, and you're seeing how they worded things and what's working. And why Indeed is preferring these in the search. You're literally looking through the eyes of the employer at what would come up whenever they post a job. That's a great way.
Interesting.
It reverse engineers the resume. Now you're looking at your competition from the eyeballs of the hiring desk. Now you can customize your resume with the keywords, which, by the way, friends, if you are applying for a job and you have one template resume and you are sending that to every job, you have already screwed up. You have already screwed up. When I was a hirer, if I was looking at the application, the resume, if they did not specifically say in their cover letter, usually I'm looking at the cover letter first. If that cover letter did not specifically reference things that I wrote in the job description and tell me why they're qualified, you've lost me. I have so much to do. It is such a laborious thing to hire.
Wow.
People do not have the time. But that's what you should do.
I don't know anything about getting jobs in the real world.
No, but I used to do that too.
Yes.
When I wrote cover letters,
Yes.
I would cite specific phrases and words that were in the job description.
Yeah.
So that they knew I read the job description.
And a lot of people feel cheesy doing that. It's like, oh, come on, that's a little on the nose. I'm copying and pasting.
No,
I know
but
it seems
that's-
that way, but it's beautiful.
No, because you're sending a message. You're
I
saying,
read it.
I did the work.
I read the job description. I am qualified, and I'm going to do you a favor and speed this up for you, HR. Because a lot of people write these essays, these cover letters like, let me tell you about the time I went to Spain. I don't care. Okay? There's bullet points of what I'm looking for. I want you to write a letter saying, hey, Jim, I'm qualified. Here's the things that you said you're looking for. Here's the ways that I match that. I think you should give me a look.
Oh, there you go.
Now, as far as the
I have no idea how to write a cover letter. I've never written a cover letter for a resume in my life.
I just send in a headshot with my name
don't
and
have-
my
that's
number
just
on the
true.
back.
You don't have to.
But no, I never have.
Yeah.
I've never.
When
I've
was the
never
last time
had-
you've had to apply for a job?
over a decade?
Yeah.
But that's beside the point. Back then, I didn't know how to write a cover letter either.
Right. Yeah, that's fair. As far as the highs
Because I'm
and
not in the real world.
That's right.
the
Theater is a different world.
the highs and lows, that's normal. Okay, so there's nothing wrong or abnormal about that.
Right.
Everybody gets a sense of depression or feeling low when they get rejected.
Certainly.
That's fine. I think, again, it's just about rephrasing it, looking into something positive. I am very grateful for the jobs I didn't get. Looking back at it now, there are so many jobs that I applied for here in the Las Vegas area that I didn't get, and looking back at it now I know that organization, I know that agency.
Yeah.
I know what would have likely happened, how I could have gotten stuck there.
Yeah, Thunder Down Under went bankrupt.
I'm still bummed about that.
Yeah. But no, you dodged the bullet. You dodged the buzz. Their loss.
Yeah.
I'm just going to keep from getting sued. Thunder from Down Under is fine. They're a wonderful show. They're a wonderful organization.
Thank you, Jacob.
Definitely not bankrupt.
And we know that they're listening.
And sponsoring the show.
Adam, producer of Thunder from Down Under, who I am friends with, we know you guys are fine.
Great show. Everybody take your friends at that.
And I am still interested. If you are listening.
PodTherapyGuys at gmail.com.
An old friend of mine did wardrobe for Thunder from Down Under for a long time.
That sounds like an easy job.
He just sewed together male G-strings. That was his job. It was a good gig.
But the jobs you didn't get, sometimes in life, you're grateful for that. Not at the time, though. You feel pretty bad.
Yeah, exactly. But, and then there were other jobs that I got that I ended up not liking, but they still provided me something. Right. I always try to find the positive in it.
What's the thing is people always forget that a job application is a two-way street.
Right.
When you are applying for a job, yes, the job is looking at you and asking if they want to hire you, but you're also looking at them and saying, do I want to work for this company?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. And there's been times where I've actually been offered the job and I've said no.
That's
Sure.
right.
Because of that interview.
Sure.
You know, and it's like, I just don't see this as a good fit.
You never know.
But even when you're in that position of going like, well, I'm going to take a job. If they offer me a job, I'm going to take the job. And then they reject you. Even in that situation, there's still a little bit of that, like, oh, I'm also looking at them and saying, what do I want from them?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And if they don't live up to it, sometimes that works out.
Yeah. No, it absolutely does. So, Ryder, I think you asked, is this normal? It is absolutely normal.
Sure.
You've got to take that step back from not personalizing a resume in the sense that you are not being rejected. Understand and put your feet in the shoes of the HR people. That is literally somebody's job in most companies, 40 hours a week, and it feels like work, and they have to sit there and burn through these pages, and they develop these short, very quick ways of doing it. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times it's at a glance, looking for keywords, minimal stuff, sorting people out of the pile as fast as they can. They're not judging your humanity or your worthiness. A lot of times they are cutting corners, trying to get the job done too. And the way that you fight back, do the tricks that I taught you, but then also you keep going. You just keep applying. Eventually you catch a fish, and then you show up. And that's what you got to do.
And when you get a rejection, don't be afraid to go back to that company and ask for feedback.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, yeah.
Worst case scenario, they don't give you feedback.
Right.
They've already not given you a job.
Right.
A lot of times they'll give you feedback.
I think so. A lot of times they will.
I've had that.
That's actually
I've
been
had somebody reach out to me. It's not very common, but I've had it happen before, and I gave them feedback. I said,
if they're polite, if they have a chip on their shoulder and they seem petty, then I'm like, I'm not giving you any more.
By all means, you absolutely just kindly and politely reach out to them and ask for feedback. But I mean, a lot of times you're talking to a human being. You're talking to another human being, and sometimes that's hard to remember.
They want to tell you, and
again, they'll just say, here's the reason that I put your resume in the no pile.
That was it. A lot of times that was it. And you'll be surprised how there's not a reason. How oftentimes it's like, I'm
sorry, you said you had brown hair.
I didn't even get to yours.
Well, the one that I was actually thinking about, that I actually do remember that happening, where she reached out to me and asked, just, hey, can I get some feedback on this? And it honestly was, everything was great. There was just somebody else that had just
99% of the time.
A specific skill that I was looking for that they had experience doing, and that was it. Yep. And honestly, I ended up hiring that other person later on.
Oh, yeah.
I kept the resume.
Because of the contact.
Because I was like, you know what? I appreciate the fact that they reached out and they wanted feedback.
Right.
Oh, that's another thing. Always play that long game.
Oh, yeah.
You're always playing the long game.
Yep.
There's no reason to go in and burn the bridge.
Yeah.
There's no reason to go in scorched earth on the person who denied your resume.
Right. Thank you for the opportunity.
Stick
I hope
around.
You'll keep my resume on file if there's anything open in the future.
If there's any feedback you can give me, I would really appreciate that.
Yep.
And thank you so much for the consideration.
That's right. And then you rip away the snap pants.
Yeah.
And then you know what? Just start doing you.
No joke. When we were at the organization that you and I used to work for,
Thunder Down
when we first met,
Thunder Down Under.
I hired somebody strictly because she kept calling me.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, like she would call me every week.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay.
She filled out an application. She was looking for a tech position, which is kind of entry-level position. And she was calling on a regular basis.
Wow.
Have you had a chance? Anything open? Anything going on?
And it worked
finally,
for you.
Yeah, finally, I'm like, you know what? If you're going to put this effort into calling me for the job, I know you're going to show up to do it.
Wow.
So I ended up hiring her. She did great.
So I'll tell you a quick story, and then we got to move on.
And then they started dating her. Yeah. That was Laura.
That was Laura. Yeah. A quick story to end this segment. I had a person do that at the last place we worked together. So we had a staff member. I'm going to be super vague about it. But you may even recall some of the details here. We had a staff member, had a very particular role. In that role, that was a very important daily position to our organization. And one day, this person walked off the job. Had a bad day, walked off the job, said peace, left us high and dry. had to do with our nutrition and dietary department. And so that, remember this? Shut us down.
That is fascinating.
Yeah,
Yes.
Nick and I were throwing aprons on trying to handle this place.
It's PB&J today.
Everybody's getting PB&J and cereal. Congratulations. Jim's
right.
not cooking. You guys will all die.
I feel
So-
like this is a fine time to say, check out the Patreon.
Yeah.
For Pod Therapy.
That's right.
Because I feel like this is going to come up in the Patreon at some point.
Oh, it was. So this person just walks off the job. Okay, and I'll say it, this person was an executive chef. That was their role. And so we had this luxury
Cook
rehab.
executives.
They were cooking executives. And so, important job. So this person just absolutely walks off the job. I'm trying to get a hold of them. They're not answering my phone. And basically, I find out from other staff that on the way out the door, the person basically just said, F this job. I don't like it here. I'm out. Bye. Okay.
Cool.
So we clean up the wreckage. It is chaos for like 2 weeks. I'm doing this hiring spree, trying to fill this role. It's very hard to fill that role. I finally am like getting it done. The person calls me and I'm like, hi.
The person that left.
Yeah, like a month later, calls and I'm like, hi, are you okay? And the guy's like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm really embarrassed about how that happened. I said, well, I'm not the guy that's like, you should be. You're a jerk. I was like, hey, I get it, buddy. You're a human being. I don't know what was going on in your life. No
also,
worries.
you should be.
Yeah. All is forgiven, man. I wish you well. Good luck to you. And he says, well, I was calling because I want the job back. And I go, yeah, the position's been filled. I'm not going to give you back. He goes, Jim, I want that job back. And I tell you what, I'm going to prove it to you. And I go, no, you already proved that you didn't want that job whenever you walked off the job. And he goes, I'm going to prove it to you, man, because I'm not giving up. I'm going to show you that I'm a relentless kind of guy. The kind of guy that you can trust is going to be there. I'm like, no, we've already did this, though.
You're definitely not.
That experiment's been run in real time. We did this on game day. You fumbled, and so he was like, "Nope, I'm."
You didn't fumble.
So
you
threw
spiked
it
the ball.
Yeah, you spiked the ball.
Yeah. You threw it down.
You went into our end zone.
Yeah.
So anyway, he does this. He texts and calls every day, and I wasn't answering. And I was just letting him go to voicemail and letting the text come in every day. And he's a sensible guy. He's not a weirdo, but every day he was doing this. And it's probably about 10 days in.
I got to tell you, I think I would have answered the call every day.
Oh, how you doing, man? Just driving to work.
Oh, hell no, you're not getting your job back.
Nope.
We're done.
Hope you're having a great
Click.
day. Take care. So finally, this is the person's being relentless, and it's an admirable trait in some ways. But honestly, I was over it.
Well, that's a different situation than what I'm talking about.
Obviously, but it just reminded me. But I
That is
finally,
funny,
10
though.
days in, had to get on there, and I was like, I need you to understand. There is no universe in
I need
which
you to
I
free
would
up my
bring you
phone
back.
line.
Yeah.
I am going to the police.
I'm asking you to stop now. You happen to have my personal cell phone because you used to be my employee, right?
Yeah.
Nobody else does, and I need you to go back into that category of people who don't.
No,
It's not
I
okay.
wanted you to lose this number.
Yeah, so sometimes relentless is not the way you're going to get that job back.
True.
But, Ryder, I'm sure you will be successful. Do not personalize it. Do not read into it. Remember that the
That's
people
the
that are
biggest
doing
thing.
this, they're just going through the list. A lot of times it's just alphabetical, man, and they're just picking them. As soon as they see them, their job is done. As soon as they see a good candidate, they just grab it, they stop reading the rest of them, and they go to interviews because they're trying to get their job done. They're not being thorough. They have no reason to go through all 1,000, right? They start with number 1. If at 12 they find a good one, they stop at 12.
Right.
And they start the process with 12. And if you were number 13, you'll get rejected. And you'll think, man, what was wrong with me? Probably nothing. They probably
Right.
never even saw it.
Yep.
But stay in there.
Or somebody just had something that you didn't have.
Sometimes that's it. But it's not a you thing. It's usually a them thing, like the cash buyer for the house. So
Right.
don't personalize it. Don't read into it. And hang in there, friend. It gets
And I'll tell
better.
you what, the job that made my career, the job that created my career for me. I'm a Broadway and circus and whatever sound guy, and I do podcasting and all this stuff. The job that laid my career out in front of me, I walked out of that interview thinking that was the worst interview I ever had.
Oh, wow.
I mean,
No way.
exaggeration.
Yeah, walked out saying
I
there's no
walked
way
out
this
going
works.
like, that was dumb.
Not going to happen.
That was a waste of everyone's time, mine,
wow.
theirs, and everyone. And I called back, I don't know, a week or so later. It was a Broadway job.
Oh, wow.
And I called back a week or so later, assuming that I didn't have it, thinking, I'm going to check before I take this other gig that has been offered to me. I'm just going to check.
Mm-hmm.
They said, oh, yeah, you've got it. We were going to call you tomorrow.
Job's yours.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it was a big enough deal that I was like, I can't not check at least.
Right.
Yeah.
And you thought there's no way.
No,
and
I
you
was
just
assuming
walked
it
in.
was a no and was shocked when it was a yes.
You
But
never
I mean,
know.
I tell you, sometimes those interviews that you walk out of thinking just, well, that was stupid. I shouldn't have even done this.
Right. You
You
never
know,
know. You
You
never
don't know.
You
You
never
don't know how you come across to the other person across
That's
that
right.
table. And they're having a completely, I can't stress enough how different the experience is on the other side of the table
God.
from your experience.
That's so important. Like, even in the interviewing process. I mean, like, and I'm a therapist. I'm very much about being personable. And, like, even in the interviewing process, I was always very mechanical. Because you are one of 10 that I have to deal with today. And this is now my job. I'm getting paid to interview people today. So I'm very formulaic about it and just trying to get my job done because I want to go home. You know, and so sometimes, writer, you have to remember the people that are parsing through this stuff, they're not evaluating your humanity. You don't have to be the ideal, I match every single, job description line in this thing. Not at all. Just
and
keep
also,
taking your shot.
You didn't say anything about this, but Jim and Nick are in therapy. They're in the medical professional world. I'm in the entertainment world. We've all had to hire people.
Right.
When I am talking to someone in an interview, there is no one rooting for that person more than I am.
That's true.
100%.
Because if you are the perfect candidate for the job, you make my life so much easier.
Yeah, I want it to be done.
Boy,
I hope
do
that
I
you're
want
great.
you to be great.
Yeah, I want to
So
cancel
like,
all the
that
other
person
interviews.
across that person across the table from you, not your enemy at all.
No, I just want to go to lunch.
Man, it would be great if you just walked in and were like, yeah, I've got all the qualifications and I'll do it in a bikini.
Yep.
Always offer, writer, to throw in the bikini. You never
Please
know.
offer.
You never know if that's what they're looking for. All right, we got to take a break. I think this is going to be an extended episode.
How so?
When we come back, we're going to talk about missing a father figure. You're listening to Pod Therapy.
Today's episode is brought to you by Elio Dare, Judy Schneider, Mason Miller, Leon Kassab, and Ezekiel Lawrence.
Woo!
Would you like to sponsor the show and become a
Love
therapy producer?
Ezekiel Lawrence.
Go to patreon.com/therapy. It is Mental Health Month, and this is our final theme for psychology.
All right.
Final psychology question.
Oh, wait, are we tied?
No, you're up.
No. It is tied.
Oh, it is tied. That's
Jacob
when I came
was up.
back.
Jacob was up. You got the last one. So it is tied.
Keeping
so
the
this,
degree on the wall.
this
Oh,
is
man,
for...
I don't remember whose turn it is to answer first.
Okay,
It's
here we go.
mine. I'm
Okay,
up first.
okay.
According to Piaget's stages of cognitive development,
Oh, I know this one.
which stage comes first? Is it A, concrete operational, B, sensory motor, C, pre-operational, or D, formal operational?
Oh, Jesus.
If you would like to join the Therapy Producers and make the show possible, you can go to patreon.com/therapy and sign up. Again, that's patreon.com/therapy.
I hate you so much.
I
because
know.
this is like those questions where, like, three of them are literally the same one with a letter changed. And you're like, great. So now what do I do? It's hard to pick out the red herring because they're all identical.
Now,
So-
the people who are listening for the first time,
Yeah.
Jim's PhD is on the line.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
will
win
lose
Jim's PhD if
if we finish out Mental Health Month, which is this episode.
This
Yeah.
is it,
This
and we're
is it.
tied.
And we're tied. Oh, God. All
if
right.
I get more questions than Jim, I get Jim's PhD.
It becomes Dr. Jacob Smith.
That's
I feel
right.
that that's fair, and I get demoted. All right, so
Just sound guy.
I would like to be life coach, honestly.
I gotta tell you, it's a lot better.
The jingle's pretty sweet. I wouldn't mind that.
There's pyro. It's a whole thing.
It's a whole deal. The entrance alone is kind of really exciting.
Yeah.
Okay, so Piaget is like the standard bearer for like child development psychology.
Stages of cognitive development.
Awesome.
Yes.
So obviously, I want to pick sensory and motor because I'm like, oh,
Sensory motor.
yeah, that one.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right,
Which
there
one
you
was
go.
that?
That was B.
Okay,
Yep, and I'm
So
thinking,
your choices are concrete operational,
good.
sensory motor,
Mm-hmm.
pre-operational, or formal operational.
yeah. So I my instinct is to say it's sensory motor because I'm like, oh, there you go. First stage of development. Yeah. No, we're just getting to the place where they can hold shit. That's it. They can control their hands, sensory motor, boom. But then I think, Nick's doing that thing again. where he puts that one shiny little piece of...
What do you think is the shiny one?
That one. I think that one's the shiny one.
Okay.
Because the other ones all
okay.
sound alike.
Okay. Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah. So I think B's the shiny one because it's like, oh, Jim, look over here. It's the one that stands out. And then I think it's probably not even a stage. It's probably just there to distract me, and the other one's going to be in the weeds.
Solid.
That's my logic.
Okay.
But I'm picking B anyway.
You're going to go with...
I don't know anything better than that.
Okay.
I'm going B. Sensory motor.
Well, shit. I was going to pick B.
Well, you still can.
Can't break a tie with that, though. Got to throw those dice.
But you can put all the more pressure on the last question.
That's true.
Oh, there's another question?
Yeah.
One more.
There's one more question.
Oh, that's right.
Yep.
All right, I'm going B.
Ah, what was it?
You were both correct.
Oh, my God!
Sensory motor.
Wow.
I'm really sad that I didn't get to answer first on that one now.
You got the last one.
I was really going B.
Honestly.
Sensory motor is ages 0 to 2.
Aha.
Pre-operational 2 to 7. Concrete operational 7 to 12. And formal operational 12 and above.
So we were correct.
We were right.
Yeah.
Oh, the Raiders line. If you have a new kid, by the way, one of my favorite developmental tricks to play with the kid is putting the dot on their forehead to see when they become self-aware.
Yeah.
That's really fun. I did that with both my kids, and you put the dot, you take a little marker or sticker, you put it on their forehead, and you put them in front of a mirror. And if they reach out and touch the baby in the mirror and touch the little dot, they're not yet self-aware because they're not aware that's them in the mirror. They just see a baby, and they'll smile at the baby, and they'll touch the mirror. Yeah, but if they reach up and touch their own forehead...
Are you saying mirror?
Mirror? What was I saying? Mirror.
Mirror? Like a cat?
Meerkat?
Mirror. What do you say?
Mirror.
Mirror?
Mirror.
There's 2 syllables.
Oh, come on. You're kidding.
Mirror.
Nobody says that. This isn't London. You don't have to act like you invented the language. Oh, my God. The pomp and circumstance. It's mirror. Nick, how do you say it?
You know what? Don't bring me in.
It's mirror. You know that you don't do 2 syllables.
Well, now I'm thinking about it.
It's mirror.
Now I'm thinking about it.
Mirror.
Mirror.
You go...
Mirror?
Mirror.
Looking in the mirror. That's how I'd say it.
Go look at the mirror.
Okay.
Anyway, if the baby touches their own forehead, they're self-aware.
Yeah.
Just like robots. Also do the same thing with your Siri and your and your Alexa. If it touches its own forehead, it's self-aware. The robots are coming to kill you. All right, next question. Missing a father figure.
It is a mirror.
Congratulations to all the graduates. Missing a father figure. This question comes right in time for a little bit of pre-Father's Day jive here. So
when's Father's Day?
I think it's like the second week of June. So yeah,
is it?
Yeah, it's coming up. Hey, Nick and Jim. Yup, it's me again, Laura, that 17-year-old that will not unsubscribe to your show because, to quote Nick, it's so awesome. I thought I told you to get out of here, kid.
In quote.
You're getting in too deep. Get out of here.
Quit skateboarding on my sidewalk.
Get off my damn lawn. Anyway, I have a bit of a dilemma. I'm graduating high school next year and will be out of the house, which I am enthralled about.
Oh, I just lost the sound effect.
I know, I was just going to say.
Where'd it go?
Perfect. There it was. But it also makes me sad because as a child, till now, I never had a normal father figure. My dad had a stroke when I was very young. That affected basically everything. But now he is better in the sense that he can function and talk and walk. Because, as you probably know, a lot of times strokes are actually fatal. But I just never had a strong relationship. Simply put, he doesn't understand things like emotional support and such. Now I'm almost an adult. I feel that lack of that fatherly figure in a way because I never really got it. As you know from an earlier question, my brother, who has BPD, was acting out. A lot of things happened when I was a kid. I saw stuff, heard stuff. I had always acted like I didn't know what was going on, but in reality, I knew almost everything. I even remember internalizing it as a kid, too. The thing was, I would never talk about it to anyone. Just this year, I've been thinking about it a lot, and a lot of other deep stuff, too. So anyway, as I prepare to move out of my childhood home, how can I solve my absence of a father figure? Thanks so much, Laura.
Excellent. Great question. Thank you for writing in.
Yeah.
And you remember the story. Do you remember Laura's?
Yeah,
she's her brother, borderline personality disorder.
Yep. Had some traumatic memories
right.
going through that.
Yeah. So, all right. So we're all caught up now.
Yeah.
All right. So, how do we solve the problem with the absent father figure?
I like this question for a lot of reasons. I mean, I don't think that we talk enough about this as a society. Like, we all know that parents are super important. You know, any caring adult is very important in your life. But, I mean, I'm a dad, and I do take that really seriously. And I do think that there's a lot of folks that hear a letter like this, and I do think that they relate to it, that they hear this and think, yeah, I get you, kid. You know, like, a lot of people will feel like there was an absent role in their life. They didn't have that paternal voice and somebody that was there, whatever that means to you, you know, whether it's guidance and love or just, and that's another thing, too, I don't think we talk enough about as a society. Masculine affection, paternal affection. I realize it almost causes a chuckle even to hear that phrase because we're so, you know, it's just not something you say.
I still don't know what you're talking about.
Paternal love. Like,
yeah, you lost me. I don't. Okay.
Paternal love. It is not something we discuss enough in
Are
society.
you saying mirror?
Anyway, father figures, I think, really, really matter. I think having a masculine voice in your life, in your childhood, is actually really great if that happens. I don't think it's necessary, but I think there's a huge absence of that in a lot of people's lives. So I think a lot of people actually relate to Laura's letter. And I think if you're coming of age, you're transitioning, you might look around and say, I feel like I missed that part of childhood, and now I'm thinking about how do I proactively, I don't know, like fill that void? How do I get that voice into my life? Which I think is a healthy question to ask. I think that's okay to ask.
No, I think it's a great question to ask. The thing I'm struggling with is trying to figure out, is it something that's broken that we need to fix, or is it just something that we just acknowledge?
Yeah.
And just kind of go with, you know, because it's kind of like, okay, you didn't have that strong father figure. That's okay. You know, you're not broken.
Right.
It's something that maybe even different. I wouldn't even say bad necessarily.
That's exactly my thought.
Yeah.
There's not something missing from your life, because if that had been in your life would be completely different.
Right.
And so the person that you are right now is because of your past.
And you don't know any different.
Right.
It's just, this is, it's kind of like the hand that you're dealt. So this is just the hand that you're dealt. You don't have any other, you don't have familiarity with any other hand. You just like, this is how I operate. This is how I function. So if it's working for you, I think that's kind of where I would go and focus on, like, is it causing you problems? Have you adapted to this? Is it, is it something that's going to cause you problems later in life? We don't really know. If it does, that's what therapy's for. You know, then that's when you can get into therapy and you can address some of these things. But it's not, I guess I wouldn't necessarily want to create this as a problem if it's not yet a problem. Does that make sense?
It does. I think, so I agree with both of you. And I think, Laura, what I think both of them are saying, and I think it's true, is I think they're trying to say it's okay to not have had a father figure. We don't want you to believe that somehow you have a deficit or somehow you're not a prepared human being. Having acknowledged that, as they both have, I think we can also acknowledge you're writing in because you subjectively are telling us, I sense a deficit. I'm looking for that voice in my life. I feel like I didn't have it, and it's something I want. And I think that that's a very okay thing to want, and that's why I was kind of saying at the start of this that I think a lot of people crave that voice, and I think it's okay to want that voice, and I think it's okay to seek it. As a male therapist, I've absolutely had, people over the years, and it's not necessarily a 17-year-old, it could be a 40-year-old, and it could be a man or a woman. And they might say, sometimes when we're working together, sometimes some of this therapy is different for me because you are kind of a nurturing male figure. And I don't think I ever had that, growing up. That's interesting. That's a new experience. I find it very healthy. I like this. This is a good thing for me. And sometimes I think I'm not being a surrogate father, but I'd be lying if I said that nothing I'm doing is paternal. Like, there's a reflection of that in the work. And this is something that therapists kind of talk about, as part of our training as well, that we understand that, in some ways, whether we mean to or not, sometimes we are speaking with a voice, that maybe you didn't have. And so I think that this comes back to this idea of, as you prepare yourself for college, as you prepare yourself for the next steps or whatever you're going to do in life, I would encourage you to maybe explore that, with a therapist. I've had people that have told me, I selected you as a male therapist because I didn't feel that I've had a male nurturing voice in my life, and I intentionally wanted to create space for that voice. That's appropriate. That's entirely okay. Nothing wrong with that.
Wonderful.
And if that fills a role, I think that can become a healthy voice in a person's life. It can give you that sense of perspective that perhaps you need, and is also trustworthy and can be very healthy with boundaries and things like that too.
Mm-hmm.
It's an approach, But I take that really seriously.
I definitely bristle a little bit at the notion of missing something.
Go ahead.
In your life, just because, we're all missing things that we think that could have been better in our lives.
Sure. Yeah, and I guess that's kind of where I was thinking too. Like, better versus missing is
we all miss things,
right? I mean, it's almost like if we were to compare it to food, right?
Yeah.
I
didn't grow up with curry. I love curry. I didn't grow up with curry. I don't feel as though I missed something in my food life growing up because I didn't have curry growing up.
But you weren't going hungry.
No.
Right.
Exactly.
I was doing fine.
Exactly. So it's like we miss some things. There are things that aren't in our lives, but we still have to go back to, am I functioning? Am I functioning in a healthy way? Am I, is everything working out for me? Or is this lack of a father figure causing me problems? Because I think sometimes people will get, and I'm not saying that Laura is necessarily in this position, but I think sometimes people get into this position where they feel like my life is different than theirs, therefore I must be missing something. This must be causing problems. When really maybe it isn't. It's just not there.
The thing is, your life is different from theirs. Your life is different from mine. Your life is different from Nick's. Your life is different from Jim's. It's just different. It's not better. It's not worse. We all have different experiences. We all have different lives, and we all have different upbringings. And just because yours is not exactly what you think it should have been, that's not necessarily good or bad. There may be negative things, there may be positive things, but it's not necessarily good or bad. It's not inherently good or bad, I guess is what is the word that I should use there. It is what has made you.
Yeah.
And you're a wonderful, interesting, neat person. And I know that because you're listening to us right now, and only wonderful, interesting, neat people listen to this show.
Exclusively.
Especially the people that get on the Patreon.
That's right. They're the only ones really, we stop them at the door.
Yeah.
That's the first thing we're checking.
And you're looking inward and you're trying to better yourself, and that says something very positive about you right there.
It does. And you're very introspective, Laura. And, I guess we therapists, we see all sorts of different types of people. Sometimes we do notice patterns. The absence of a healthy or positive male figure is a pattern that we do bump into, right? And I don't want to say that doesn't have consequences. It can. I like that you are saying at this age, I notice in my life that I didn't have a supportive, empathic male in my world. I went through a lot of pain as a kid. I went through a lot of trauma as a kid. I was scared a lot as a kid. I'm still haunted. And there's a part of me that wishes I had that male voice. And I'm seeking it, guys. And I'm writing in saying, I'm seeking this, but I want to do this in a healthy way.
So what do you suggest?
And I think that I like that you're acknowledging. That's why I think it's so important, because I think it's okay to acknowledge I'm seeking that voice in my life. Too often I think we minimize that. We say, oh, you have daddy issues, right? Your daddy issues. You just, now you're going to go out and date some guy that's
overly
20 years older. Yeah.
Simplified.
And I don't think
and
that
a little sexist as well.
Very sexist. And
Nobody ever
also,
talks about men having daddy issues.
Right. And I think that
true.
It just is, yeah.
Yeah, and so I definitely think this too often gets, teased out or not, or minimized. I think you're allowed to acknowledge I have that vacancy and I crave that, I need that in my life, and I'm here to try to do it in a healthy way. I don't want to just go off looking, because that's true. A lot of people will get caught up with older mentors and bosses, and they imbue this fatherly, seeking into anybody that looks like they could fit the role. And a lot of times that can turn into really unhealthy dynamics where that person's not your parent. And you're giving them too much authority in your life. You're listening to them too much. They might be toxic. So how do you go find a healthy father? I think this is where I would bring that to therapy, I think. I'd be interested in what a therapist would see in this conversation, and if they could be not a paternal voice, but I think fill the need for that empathic, sincere tone that's really hearing you and going through your trauma. I think that's what you really need. That's the thing I think that's really missing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it's something everybody empathizes with.
Yeah, I mean, and to clarify, I think from Jacob's perspective and my perspective, we weren't trying to minimize any of this.
Certainly not.
Obviously, it's there. I guess the big thing that we are looking at is really sincerely asking, is it a problem, or is it something that you just acknowledge as something that was missing?
And that's fair. And we want you to be resilient. We don't want you to think you have a problem.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Don't pathologize something that doesn't need to be pathologized.
Exactly.
But if it is something that you feel is causing an issue, is a problem, then I would agree. I think going into finding a therapist that can help sort that out, that's what we do.
And I think the direction that Nick and I are coming from is we also want to celebrate who you are,
right,
and not necessarily who you would have been if there had been a strong paternal influence in your life early on.
Right. Yeah. Jim does not want to celebrate who you are.
No,
Jim does not. Jim is not for that. At all.
That's the direction we should spin this in. Is that somehow the guy who wrote the Dad Vice book is the guy against you? Yeah, let's go with that. Yeah. Let's go with that. But it's interesting.
If you don't have kids, don't read Dad Vice.
That's fine. I had a patient once that I thought this was interesting. It was a gentleman who was a younger man. He was in his early 20s. And the person that had referred him to therapy, I asked him, who was it? And he said, well, the gentleman is my father. And then as we got deeper, he said, well, he's not really my father. He's a male mentor in my life. And I said, okay. He said, I didn't really have a dad. And I said, okay. How'd you meet this gentleman? He says, Big Brothers and Big Sisters. When I was a teenager, I got into Big Brothers and Big Sisters. I met this guy.
a lot of people in that program.
Yeah.
That is a fascinating and wonderful program.
Thing. And he said, the guy was very sincere, has always been very kind to me, has taken me under his wing. And now I'm a grown man, and I send this dude a Father's Day card, and we've really bonded. And, he was the one that told me he wanted to see me get into therapy for some things, and that's why I'm here today, because I take that guy seriously. And,
Great.
And I said, you're so lucky to have that voice in your life. He says, yeah, no, I really am. So organizations like that too, Laura, you still are a minor. You still are in high school. Those organizations exist to serve exactly sometimes this need of just being a big brother or big sister, an elder adult who's trying to be a positive role model. And if that is a male voice or a female voice, they're there to be supportive. So maybe consider looking into that too. I know it's done a lot of good in a lot of people's lives.
Yeah.
But, again, we're going to urge you, please unsubscribe. This is an explicit podcast. You have no business here. Okay?
What the fuck are you doing?
Hold on. If I were that father figure in your life, I would say you absolutely should.
Oh, you're the dad who gives ice cream.
Should not be listening to this garbage.
That's right, young lady.
But I'm not.
What are you doing up this late? It's 1 a.m.
So absolutely continue to subscribe.
Oh, God. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back...
Steal a credit card. Go to the merch store.
We're talking about catastrophizing. You're listening to Pod Therapy.
Today's episode is brought to you by Elio Dare, Judy Schneider, Mason Miller, Leon Kassab, and Ezekiel Lawrence. Would you like to sponsor the show and become a therapy producer? Go to patreon.com/therapy. Here it is for all the marbles.
Oh, this is it. This is it.
You guys are screwed on this one.
You should play that song
but
that
I'm
they
first.
play
all right.
when the Chicago Bulls come into the court.
Here we go. According to the DSM-5... here we go.
It's a jingle from
Jock versus Nerd. According to the DSM-5,
all right,
which of the following diagnoses have the highest estimated prevalence rate?
Oh, Jesus.
When provided, we're using U.S. rates.
Oh, good. Thank
rates
you for clarifying.
Within the U.S.
Not Europe.
For this question.
That'll change everything.
I know it then.
Here are your choices.
Don't even read the options.
I thought it was going to be European. Oh, I'm so happy.
Which of these diagnoses have the highest estimated prevalence rate?
Great.
A, schizophrenia.
Yeah.
B, agoraphobia. C, obsessive compulsive disorder.
Yeah.
D, body dysmorphic disorder. Or E, dissociative identity disorder. So you've got 5 choices.
And you get to go first this time.
Yeah, it's B. And I definitely
what is
remember
B?
what B is.
So is that agoraphobia?
B is agoraphobia.
Okay.
Great.
Do you know what agoraphobia is?
Certainly.
Okay.
Suspect he does not.
All right, take him at his word.
I've heard of it.
Okay. So we have...
That's crowds or something
Yes.
with that, right?
Yes, exactly.
Oh, good.
And
So
fear of leaving the house.
Fear of
Yeah.
being out in public, fear of leaving the house.
Great. I'm going with that one.
Yep.
Okay. Schizophrenia, I'm going with a no. Agoraphobia...
Just imagine how embarrassing it's going to be if Jim
if he
loses
lands this.
to that.
He's going to stick it when it's like, yeah, I don't remember what I picked, but I got a doctorate for it.
Yep.
Okay, B was agoraphobia. Okay, I'm ruling out A. B
Okay.
agoraphobia. I'm going to put on the shelf for a second. What was C?
Obsessive compulsive
I'll
disorder.
put that on the shelf as well. What's D?
Body dysmorphic disorder.
Yeah, I'll put that on the shelf too. What was
a
E?
lot of things on this.
It's a big shelf.
Okay.
Shelf's getting pretty packed.
And E is dissociative identity disorder.
I'll take away DID. All right, so then I've got OCD, I've got body dysmorphic disorder, and I've got agoraphobia. I feel like agoraphobia, if agoraphobia is hiding social anxiety inside, I'm going to be fucking furious because that should not be conflated. These should be separate diagnoses. Unacceptable. Especially if you're throwing out the DSM-5. That means there's differential diagnosis, and that means there must be the prevalence rate in that actual page, Nick. Are you prepared to vouch that you've taken it that seriously? You better have your data right.
Sorry, I wasn't listening.
All right. I'm gonna take away agoraphobia. I'm
Cool
leaving
story, bro.
OCD and body dysmorphia. This is gonna be close. I'm gonna go body dysmorphia. Final answer.
Okay.
And
So
the Oscar goes to...
That's a great drop.
it goes to Jim.
Oh!
Yeah. Jim,
title. Yes.
The title being his own
Doctor
PhD.
powers are falling upon me again.
Now you were right. You were right.
I forgot what Jim's answer was. What was Jim's answer?
body
dysmorphia.
dysmorphic disorder.
That one.
Ah.
You were right to eliminate schizophrenia, which is estimated at 0.3 to
Very rare.
0.7%.
Yeah.
Great.
All of these are very rare.
Yeah.
Okay, they're all within a couple percentage points.
Oh, were they really?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I could have told you that.
yeah. So
Well, once he said the American stats,
Yeah,
now
yeah.
Jacob knew.
Right, it's obviously not Euro.
Yeah, the euro. The sizes are bigger in America too. There's
Yeah.
that. You got to factor that in.
now you said you were going to eliminate DID, dissociative identity disorder, right off the top.
Yeah,
Actually, that is a 1.5%
was it?
Pretty big.
prevalence.
Yeah.
The winner was the body dysmorphic, which was only 2.4%.
Okay.
So it's twice,
Was-
but
Second
still.
place. Can I see if I get the order right?
okay, yeah, go ahead.
I would put them in body dysmorphic disorder,
Okay,
OCD.
no,
No. Okay. Body dysmorphic DID.
nope,
So it was agoraphobia.
yes.
Wow.
Body dysmorphic at 2.4, agoraphobia 1.7%,
Oh wow.
DID 1.5%, OCD 1.2%, and then schizophrenia 0.3 to 0.7.
Very interesting.
Huh.
Yeah. Very interesting
there you go.
data. And that was DSM-5 data, right?
Correct.
All right.
Oh, not 6?
Not
No,
six.
no.
Six
Oh,
doesn't
no.
exist.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So.
Which is why I didn't use
Oh.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we're still writing six.
Six.
Yeah.
6 doesn't exist that you know of.
Six is gonna crush though. Yeah, it's DSM 6 Tokyo Drift. It's gonna be great. The Rock is reprising his role, so it's gonna be really good.
Oh, part of me is genuinely very sad that Jim won that.
I know.
Although the other part of me is very happy that he only won by 1.
Yeah,
that's right.
I mean, it was
Yeah.
close. I
It
was
was
kind
a
of
nail
thinking,
biter.
I was thinking this could just end in a tie.
Yeah, and you technically picked the second
And
option.
then,
so-
and then we cut the PhD in half.
That's right. That's right. We do this. It's
We
King
Solomon
Solomon.
the
That's right.
PhD.
We King Solomon the PhD. I get the PH. He gets the D. That's fair.
As everyone would expect.
As everyone was hoping for. Catastrophizing. Hello, pod therapy guys.
I
And
recently won part of a PhD.
I'm Jacob Smith, PH. What was that?
Never mind. Moving on.
Are you telling me that you're acidic? What is this? Hello.
You can keep the D.
You can keep the D. Hello, Pod Therapy Guys, and Jim in parentheses.
That'd be a good T-shirt.
Keep the D.
Jacob Smith, PH. You can keep the D.
It's a fine T-shirt.
That is, we're on to something. We need to keep
PodTherapyPaintShop.com.
workshopping that one. That one's coming. I think you're on to something with that. Hello, Pod Therapy Guys and Jim. I have a quick update and a related question. I found you guys' advice in episode 144 very helpful, but after the better part of a year, I did end up joining a private practice, hopefully where there's less violence and trauma. Thanks for helping me get through a tough but fulfilling year. I think this is a colleague.
No. He's an attorney.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
He's a prosecutor.
That was right.
Yep.
As my new start date comes up, I find myself starting to catastrophize. What if I don't have what it takes for my new job? What if my new bosses are terrible people? I've been putting these feelings on trial, as you guys said, but I think that's been less helpful than I'd like. I can always find reasons to justify my negative thinking, like you've had bad experiences with bosses before, your peers have been in the field longer than you, and are just as talented, so obviously you can't compete. I'm wondering if you have any advice on this. Should I try some different techniques? Am I doing this wrong? What do you think? Thanks in advance, the episode 144 prosecutor. P.S. Sorry, couldn't smuggle you past the border then, still can't smuggle you now. That's right, he's the Canadian, and I asked him for clemency. Get me across the border and keep me safe. Also, I believe it's pronounced sorry.
Sorry.
In Canadian. Yeah.
Also, we weren't asking for all three of us. Just two of us.
Yeah. Any two. Smuggle us through.
Two of us at your choice.
Yeah. You get to pick. We understand.
Yeah.
We're all prepared
We get it.
to be the short straw. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yep.
So this is a good one.
Yeah,
Catastrophizing at work.
So he took our advice. It didn't help. So this checks out.
Yeah, that bears.
Yep. So any new advice other than what we told them last time? It's funny though that this one actually kind of fits in very closely to the first question. I didn't plan it that way. I just took the next three in the queue.
Yeah. But
know.
it did. Yeah. The first question today was about the fear of applying for jobs. Here's a person who's saying, listen, I'm in a new job, but I'm catastrophizing about that job. I'm
It almost
fearful I won't be
sounds-
good enough.
It's a bit of the impersonator syndrome.
Yes.
Yes,
Imposter
that's actually
syndrome.
imposter
Syndrome, yep.
That's what I was going to say. It actually sounds a lot like that, more so than the catastrophizing. But I don't know. You have any other new tips other than what we told them last time?
So, Mr. Prosecutor, I like, or Mrs., I don't know, or Miss, I don't know any of that.
the prosecutor,
The
was his
Canadian
mother.
prosecutor. Oh my God.
Twist.
Yeah.
You chauvinist. Fair. So I like what you're already doing, right? So to come back to this, catastrophizing is when our brain gets anxious because we jump to these worst case scenarios. We imagine somehow it's all going to go wrong. I'm going to get there. I'm going to fail this project. Other people are judging me. I'm going to let everybody down. I'm not qualified. We're going to lose the house. We're going to lose the farm. I'm going to be penniless. I'm going to lose my license to practice. Our brains run with all these worst case scenarios. That's what we call it catastrophizing.
By the way, if you have a farm and you're an attorney,
Yeah.
get some rest.
Agrarian attorneys.
That is a lot of work.
You need to do the self-care. I
You
think
should
it's
probably go ahead and just voluntarily lose one of those things.
Yeah, what's your sleep schedule? And can you ship apples to our 7-Eleven? Because we could use the
They're
help.
delicious.
They're delicious apples. But yeah,
If thick skin.
that's what you're looking for in an apple. Thing could take a bullet, I'm telling you. I dropped it and it bounced.
Stronger than a phone book.
So catastrophizing is a hard thing, and I think it does cause that anxiousness. I like that you're taking the thoughts to court. That's that question of like, hold on, what is the evidence? And you ask in the question, am I doing this wrong? There was a little bit of that.
That's the piece that he says isn't working.
Yeah.
What about, how do you feel about if he just rolls with it? Instead of fighting the idea and taking the thought to court,
Yeah.
what if you just roll with it?
Okay.
So, for example, if he's saying, if the thought he has is, your peers have been in the field longer than you.
Cool.
Okay.
They're more experienced.
So, right, they're more experienced. You can't compete. Okay. So instead of fighting that idea, what do you think about if he were to just go with, yeah, that's probably true.
Mm-hmm.
Roll with the idea, but then try to find something positive out of it.
Right.
Oh, yeah, they are more experienced. What a great learning opportunity I'm going to have.
Okay.
Instead
Or
of
they're
trying
more
to fight the
experienced,
idea.
and they're but they are possibly set in their ways.
Right. Yeah.
I'm going to bring
So
a
you
new
find-
perspective.
Right. So you find something else that would counterbalance that.
Right.
So in a sense, it's not really fighting the idea. You're going with it, but then you're actually like we always said in addictions treatment, like, okay, let's play that tape through. Then
Yes.
what? Then what? Then what?
Right.
Because ultimately, you can still, even if all of those thoughts are negative, and you are catastrophizing, or you've got this imposter syndrome, you can continue to play those thoughts out, and they can turn to something positive,
Yes.
potentially.
Yes. Yeah. And so I think that's great. I love that idea of playing it through. I think that's really healthy. And I love that idea. I want them to do it. I want to also throw out some more techniques. So when people are dealing with anxiety on this level, which is catastrophizing, there's an entire buffet of like different techniques that we want people to draw on that will help eliminate this fear. Now, you're right. It's hard to take a thought to court when it's a future thought. It's an anticipation. He said, the start date's approaching. I'm feeling anxious as I'm getting up to it. I tell myself, what evidence is there that I'm going to have a bad boss? What evidence is there that my colleagues are going to be better than me? And he goes into his mind. He says, well, there is some evidence. I have had bad bosses before, so that could happen. And he says, there could be some evidence here that my peers are really qualified. This really qualified environment, very competitive. And there is some evidence, Jim, that's not helping my catastrophizing. That's fine. That's fine. Taking the thought to court is one technique. Another technique, especially for forecasting fear, is going through something that we call prediction. So prediction is whenever you ask a series of questions about the thing that you're scared of. And usually I start it with this. What is the worst thing that could happen? And I really invite you to just have a nightmare. Have a nightmare out loud. Tell me what it is. What's the worst thing that could happen, prosecutor? And maybe you'd say, all right, Jim, I get in there and I'm goofing on the first day. No friends. Nobody likes me. I'm off-putting. I size up everybody else. They size me up. I'm clearly inferior to them. They know it. They're obvious about it, loud about it. I meet my boss. My boss disapproves of me. I feel like a marked employee from day one. I'm there very minimally. I have a terrible experience and tenure, and then I'm unceremonially let go. All right. I agree. That sounds like the worst thing that could happen. That's pretty bad. That's why we get that out of the way. We rip the Band-Aid right off. Yep, that is -5 out of -5 on the scale. That is the worst thing that could happen. Could you technically live through that? Yes. In this case, yes. This particular fear, yes. Let me ask you something else. Would this situation, that worst case situation, would that matter in 6 weeks? Maybe. Would it matter in 6 months? Well, maybe not. Would it matter in 6 years? Probably not. Probably minimal. What are we doing? We're just sizing the fear. We're getting a right size reaction to reality.
I like it.
So we start by right sizing this thing. What's the worst case that could happen? All right, let's size that out. Then we flip it on its head. What's the best thing that could happen? Now, people with anxiety are terrible at answering this, me included. We always say, the best thing could happen is I don't get fired right away and nobody hates me. Like, no. The best thing could happen is you walk in, you're a boss. You own the place. Everybody admires you. They love you. They like you. They worship you. They think you're so qualified. Everybody's so impressed with you. Your boss is like, you should have my job. I should be working for you. You're great. Everything's upward. It's promotions. It's winning. It's success. It's extra money. It's a trajectory upward. You're celebrated every day. You can't wait to go to work. You work as much as you can because you love the place. You barely want to leave. It's the best thing you've ever done in your life.
If those things happen, you should keep that job.
That would be the best case. The exact opposite of worst case. Now we ask this other question. What's the most realistic thing? Keeping in mind, it doesn't look anything like either of those polar opposites. Right. It doesn't look like -5 worst case that I drew out for you. It won't look like +5 best case that like your employee of the month every month for the next 5 years.
They hand you the company.
Yeah. Here's the keys to the executive bathroom.
Statistically speaking, just looking at the bell curve, you're going to be right down the middle.
It will probably be in the middle. And the best predictor...
Some people are going to like you. Some people aren't going to like you.
That's it. It's going to be somewhere in the middle, and the best predictor of the future is the past. You've been in this career for a long time. Some of the jobs have been a little rough, okay, but you've gotten through them. You know what to expect. You're not a rookie. And when you get into this job, you're going to have some good days. You're going to have some bad days. That's probably what it's going to be like. But what are we doing? We're right-sizing the reaction to reality.
I like that. I like that because especially for anxiety disorder.
Right.
Because everything that happens in the moment is going to be a 10 on a 0 to 10 scale.
Right.
But when you actually put it into perspective of, a year from now, are you going to remember this moment?
Yeah, 6 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll remember it.
It lets the
How big
brain
of a-
wrap around the size of the threat. And so this is a different technique that we use. When in the past, Nick and I have introduced a series called Pause, which is really 5 different sets of CBT techniques that we just try to staple together into an acronym so it's easier to hold them all at once. The last item in Pause is E for evidence, and that's the one we taught you, Taking the Thoughts to Court in episode 144. Today I'm teaching you the P in Pause, which is prediction. And prediction is a very useful method, and I'm very much summarizing it, but it's a very useful method for situations like what you're facing, where evidence doesn't apply, where you don't have concrete facts yet, you have anticipations. And there's still a way to right-size that. Another element of Pause is A. I won't go through all of them, but I will say this one because I think it matters. A is for alternation. And that's the zebra and horse trick, which if you've heard the show, we've talked about this before. When you hear the clap of hoofs coming down the hallway, but you can't see the animal making the noise. And if I asked you, do you think it's a zebra or do you think it's a horse? You should go with horse because horses are super common. It's weird that it's in the house, but it makes sense.
Neither of them are common in a hallway.
House. Yeah, in a hallway. Let's say it's on the street.
Okay.
Let's go with that. You hear him going outside. I mean, he is a lawyer farmer, so it's possible that the animal he hears, it's a horse.
I think horses are indoor in Canada.
Yeah, I think that's probably
part
they are.
of it.
It's very
Zebras
cold.
not
very
there.
cold,
yeah, not as many Serengeti zebras up in the frozen north. Right. So we don't want to assume situations. It's a camel. We don't want to assume these rare, unusual, uncommon possibilities. That's not betting on a good outcome. We want to bet on horse explanations, horse possibilities. What are those? Common, usual, not startling, not newsworthy. But when we get ourselves all worked up, we imagine something taking place that would literally be newsworthy, that other people in our lives would be stunned to find out, oh my gosh, you were part of a terrible job and the bosses all conspired against you and then they all, basically threw you out into the cold and it was this terrible. That's story-worthy. Rarely in life are our experiences going to be story-worthy. Are they going to be zebras? They're usually going to be boring. Yeah. You're a lawyer. It's probably going to be a lawyer's job. It's not going to be that exciting. You're going to go in, you're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days, you're going to have some cases you like, cases you hate. You're going to get paid at the end of the week, and then you're going to go to Denny's. And that's what you're going to do.
Lawyers don't go to Denny's.
Where do they go? Oh, that's
IHOP.
Right.
Definitely
Wait,
IHOP.
He's Canadian. What's their place? It's that place with the name.
Tim Hortons.
That one.
Tim Hortons.
It's the Tim Hortons.
Tim Hortons.
He's going to go to Tim Hortons.
Okay, Tim Hortons.
Use those techniques. Use those. Prediction, alternation. Go through those questions carefully. Think about those. Right size to the reality. That's going to help you stay steady as you step into this new job.
Yeah.
Good luck.
It's awesome to hear about it, though. Congratulations. Glad to hear it. And hopefully you succeed at this. I know you will. So this will work out. So here at the end of the show, oh my gosh, Jacob runs over and he has a Tim Hortons.
Oh, a Sidney Crosby.
Yeah.
Mini jersey bank.
That's
souvenir.
hilarious. Wow.
Tim Hortons.
Where did
Tim
you
Hortons.
get that?
Over there.
Tim Hortons. Yes.
That side of the room.
We want to thank our Patreons. So special announcements here at the end of this magical extended episode of Pod Therapy After Dark. I guess that's the one thing Pod Therapies After Dark have is they end up being longer episodes.
And a lot
Probably
more
true.
sound effects.
Yeah, a lot more sound effects.
That's when I find them. Oh, look, here are these. It's great.
The whole soundboard is there. Again, special apologies to Ezekiel Lawrence. Thanks for being a good sport, sponsoring the show. We will be acknowledging you as a therapy producer, and your shirt's in the mail. Sorry that we didn't get to that earlier. We also, as of this recording, as of today, which is May 15th, we do have some new pterodactyls to thank. We want to welcome Sapphire. Sapphire, our guest from 174. Great. She joined us as a pterodactyl. Thank you, Sapphire. Very cool to have you in the flock. And also welcome to another pterodactyl, Samantha Teague.
Yes.
New gaggle in the bunch.
Fantastic.
So appreciate that.
Also, for people who join, I try to stay on top of it, but as soon as they join, I will message them on Patreon to give them the discount code for the store. Yeah. So if some of you have joined and you didn't get that, or you don't have the discount code, check your messages in Patreon. That's where it would be. If you still don't see it, email us.
That's right. And we also want to thank our bosses, the Saccharin 16, the mysterious and shrouded Illuminati members of our fan club. And speaking of which, I guess I should point this out. Somebody reached out to me and said, hey, I'm going to jump into your Patreon. I really wanted to be a TheraProducer, but all the spots are taken. And I laughed because I was like, no, people will just sign up now. Like, you can just sign up. Like, just whatever. As soon as you're giving 20 or more, you're a TheraProducer. You don't have to wait. There's no such thing as waiting for a seat to open anymore. So if anybody's out there like, I want to be a TheraProducer, but I'm waiting for one of these spots to open up, yeah, that's not how it works anymore. You just jump in. We just always acknowledge you. The Saccharin 16, the mysterious and shrouded Illuminati members of the fan club, the TheraProducers. Thank you, Smitty Scoop, Jake Schneider, Robert Brownie Jr. Mint, Kayla Lansbury, Elio Dare, Judy Schneider, Nathan's Hot Dog Scoop, King of Student Loan Debt, Dr. Ben Dawn.
He requested a title
I
change.
think his title is wonderful. Crazy Banana Scoop, Mason Miller, Scott Jameson. Mason and Scott are neck and neck in the diet bet this month. They are both going for Biggest Loser, and they're destroying it. Carolyn Albert, Leon Kassab, Kevin Chamberlain, Malaya, and Richard Macy, and of course, Ezekiel Lawrence.
And if you'd like to hear this episode uncut and unedited,
And why wouldn't you?
and
Of course you
enjoy
should.
our spontaneous side projects, go to patreon.com/therapy, and thank you for supporting mental health.
That is all the time that we've got for this week's session. We want to thank our landlords for staying up late with us, Matt Mattingly's Ice Cream Social podcast. And thanks to those of you who contributed to our show today. We really appreciate it. Remember, pod therapy isn't something you should keep all to yourself. Share this episode with someone who needs it by opening the episode description in your podcast app and copying and pasting that link we provided into your social media. Don't forget, you can find us at facebook.com/podtherapy, on Twitter at PodTherapyGuys, on Instagram at PodTherapyGuys, and at patreon.com/therapy.
Do you want to submit a question to the show? Ask anonymously at podtherapy.net or email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com. I'm Nick Tangeman.
I'm still Dr. Jim Jobin.
It's 2 a.m. I'm going to bed. We'll see you next week.
Oh, the end of the night. Welcome to Tomorrowland.
And I got to wake up at 7.
Oh my gosh. Patreons, we love you. Thank you for all of your support. Goodbye.